Today I have some weird pickups that are all over the place. So if you like your pickup vids mixed with stories, educational tidbits, and fun facts, then consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love it if you could like the vid by the end if you had a good time or learned something, and consider dropping a comment to tell me something weird or even make a request for content later. If it fits my style, I have no problem doing it if I can. With that out of the way, let's talk about these pickups, including one that takes me back about 16 years to a simpler time. The first game is Halo Infinite. If you've been around for more than a few months, you might know by now that I first got into the Halo series only about 4 years ago. I'd never played a Halo game in my entire life until March or April of 2022 or so. And I never owned an Xbox, and during the pandemic, I couldn't get my hands on the PS5. I didn't consider buying an Xbox because, well, I wasn't an Xbox gamer. Why would I do that? Why would I buy one? But then I saw the Series S and I thought, that's not a bad way to try out Xbox. And I was already dabbling with Game Pass and its super early tests online, like on the iPhone. So why not try it out? And I was actually really happy with that decision, as it allowed me to experience the next-gen gaming without the major cost, and at a time when Game Pass was brilliant, a real no-brainer buy. I immediately dove into the Halo series and played the entire series, starting with Reach. I know, as people were, why didn't you start with Halo 1? Well, I looked it up, and Reach was chronologically first. So I played them in chronological order and started with Reach. And I was totally blown away. And then I got to Guardians, and I really didn't like Guardians. It felt like I was playing some kind of a Halo knockoff where, I was definitely playing Halo. It felt like Halo, but at the same time, it felt nothing like Halo. And I still don't really know what I was playing in that game. And then I was excited to be off of it and starting into Infinite. And I'm telling you, for about 6 to 8 months here, the only games that I played were Halo to experience it all and immerse myself, and I was having a really good time. But again, Infinite just didn't do it for me either. I could immediately tell that it was going to be an epic world, that it was supposed to feel alive, but at the same time, it kind of felt dead. But here I am, I'm picking up Infinite from my local game store. And I think I really do want to give this one a chance again. Now it's been out for a while, it's had a chance to further bake. I'm not sure if it'll play well on the Xbox One S that I have. I don't even have a Series X to put the disc into, and I don't currently have Game Pass to play it, but I'll give it a try anyways. I mean, who knows, maybe it'll be a decent experience with just some long load times. Does anyone else have any experience like this with Halo, or is it just me? Or is this like a really weird thing these days to hear someone who's never played Halo until fairly recently and then played everything back to back? Let me know. The next game is Sword of Vermillion on the Sega Genesis. I always adored the Sega Genesis, and I'm very picky about collecting for that console. I have a wish list of games, and they have to meet certain criteria, like they need to be complete in box or CIB, right? They should be from a genre that I absolutely loved as a kid, which would have been RPGs or platformers or fighting, racing games. And Sword of Vermillion is not one that I ever had as a kid or even heard of as a kid. It's hard to talk a lot about this when I don't have experience with it, so I kind of like to talk around it with some other oddball RPGs that I also loved on the Sega Genesis, like Landstalker, or should I say the infamous Landstalker. That was some crazy jumping in that game. It was nuts. And then one very few people have likely ever heard of, called Buck Rogers' Countdown to Doomsday. Man, did I love that one. I didn't really understand what I was doing. I was super young then. I was probably 14 or 15. But little did I know that I was learning how to manage a party in an RPG. The healing, swapping out members, things like that. Doing the turn-based fighting in it. I was learning all the mechanics in this game without really knowing what I was doing. I love these early console generation RPG experiments like that, and the idea that Sword of Vermillion might be similar as a console experiment is just really intriguing to me. Here we have the Cursed Crusade on the PS3. I had this on my wish list, mostly because I'd never heard of it before and was in a genre that looked interesting, with some gameplay that looked really interesting to me. And then I saw it on the shelves, and I asked the owner if this was any good, because the cover art is a bit torn, as you can see. So I was on the fence about picking up a copy now, and he gave me this look like, "Oh my god, dude, that game, it's a freaking gem." And he proceeds to tell me it's this awesome medieval bro-venture that borders on a History Channel documentary of supernatural events that occurred. And I was really intrigued by this description, so I ended up picking it up. And it wasn't too expensive either, with the damaged cover art. I was actually surprised that they even had this in store, because they don't normally take in anything with damage when I do trade-ins. Or maybe they just don't like me as much as whoever traded this in. But I'm happy to beef up my PS3 collection a bit more, which I just built a new shelf for that should house every single PS3 title that I want by the time I'm done finding them all. We've now arrived at the game that I mentioned takes me back about 16 years in the intro, and it's Tornado Outbreak. And believe it or not, I have owned this game once before, 16 years ago. And I kicked myself for selling it around 2013, only because it's a really expensive game now. But I was able to pick it up for under loose copy prices since it's missing the manual, and I feel good enough about that. But I came across this title back in the day when I bought a few mystery lots from an online game shop, and this was in one of them, along with about 19 other games per lot. I think I might have bought 2 or 3 lots. They would have been somewhere around $75 or $80 for 20 games in the lots, and they promised that they weren't all sports titles. It was like one sports title per. And I totally thought this game in particular was a crap game. I mean, I was about 26 years old. I was into things way more adult than this. I was playing horror shooters like Fear. I was playing God of War. I was playing Dragon Age. What was this little blue tornado guy game? I have no clue. And even when I played it, I wasn't really impressed with it. I'm pretty sure I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't want to understand it. I was disappointed that this is one of my mystery slots that contained this game instead of something else, but fast forward 16 years and I can really appreciate this game now. Not because it's stupidly expensive due to a low print run, poor sales, and Konami never reprinting things, but because it's a Katamari game. Or Katamari-like game, I should say. And my experiences have matured a lot since I was in my 20s. And I can appreciate a wider variety of games. And the art that they really are. Every game is a form of art. And I really appreciate that. I keep saying appreciate, but I do. I like it a lot. So I'm sorry, Tornado Outbreak. I just wasn't ready for you. But I'm happy to have another chance in 2026. The final game I picked up in this outing is Home Sweet Home. And yes, this has a PSVR mode, but I don't have any VR capabilities on the PS4, or the PS5 for that matter, but specifically here we're talking the PS4 since they are separate devices. But this is a horror title that doesn't rely on weapons and the scarcity of ammo to create that kind of scary atmosphere. Home Sweet Home is a Thai-inspired stealth horror survival title that relies on hiding and timing and puzzle solving to navigate through labyrinth-like maps. And when I saw this on the shelf, I scooped it up because, one, I'd never seen it before. And I'd only recently become familiar with it, or its existence anyways, after playing Fatal Frame 2 on the PS2 last year. Which was also before, I think anyways, before they announced a remake of that game. And I was searching for other Eastern or Asian themed horror titles, and this popped up. I'm not going to be playing it anytime soon, but it is now in the running for an October playthrough, and I dedicate that month to only horror titles and spooky themed games. I'm curious if anyone else has ever played this one, especially in VR mode. That's it! Just a few pickups. I'm really trying to stick to just what's on the wish list for anything that's on the PS4 or older. It definitely helps me stay on track, and I get a bit of a rush when I find a title, and I scan my library for it, and I see a little wish list icon next to the names, meaning I've really wanted this, I've pre-vetted this. It doesn't mean it's in my top 10 to find list for the year. That's a separate list of things that I've elevated from that wish list to the top. It's just that I've pre-vetted it out as something that I would want, and I should be extra sure it will stay in the collection unless I just really hate the controls when I go ahead and play it. But what about you? Do you maintain a wish list? Do you pre-vet your games to reduce the chance of picking up a dud? I originally went into this like I did as a kid. If I saw cool cover art, I just got the game. And while I do that sometimes, even when I'm pre-vetting something, I don't watch tons of videos for everything. I just don't always do that. And sometimes the cover art is the reason why I buy the game. But I try to be a bit more prepared now that we're beyond getting $5 bundle bin games for the most part. And just do my homework. Well, if you stuck around this far, I really appreciate it. I hope you tune in again on another episode of Let's Build a Collection.